Hello there, happy Money Monday, and welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Abundant podcast. And today we are continuing our conversation from last week in my 2025 review, where I am breaking down the 4 things that had the biggest impact on my 2024 success. Now, this is part 2. If you haven't listened to part 1, that is last week's episode where I dive into my big wins for 2025 and the first factor that played the biggest impact on them. You don't have to listen to these in order, so it's okay if you want to finish this episode first, but also if you haven't listened to the first one yet, I highly recommend you go back and listen because these are all for sure building off of each other. So last week we talked about continuing to keep going no matter what and staying committed so that you can build momentum. And that then ties into my topic for this one, the second thing that had a big impact on my 2025 success, and that is intentional strategic action in your life and in your business, especially if you're trying to grow a successful business and support yourself full-time financially. This is going to play a really big role in that, but this also applies to just living your most abundant life in general. If you want to bring that life into reality, it's through the power of intentional strategic action that we actually make those things happen. Now, there are a variety of factors, most of which we're talking about in this series, but the biggest factor is the action that you are taking is how you actually bring to life and create this life that you're living. It's how you manifest this life that you are living. And this is something that we dive deep into in Empowered Abundance, which is my signature 6-month program to help you transform your relationship with money. And enrollment for the next round of Empowered Abundance actually opens next Monday on January 12th. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today in this episode actually is what I teach you how to do in Empowered Abundance. So when I'm talking about intentional strategic action, this looks like a couple of things, but in its simplest terms, I would describe it as being very conscious, aware, and intentional with how you spend your time, your energy, and your money. Because your time, energy, and money are the 3 creators. They are the 3 methods through which we create and manifest this life that we are living right now. When you look around at this life you're living, it is the result of how you have chosen to spend your time, your energy, and your money. So 2025 for me being a year of huge wins, 5 years in business, first year full-time supporting myself with business revenue, and my first 6-figure revenue year, a huge contributing factor to being able to have this year of 2025 was the intentional strategic action that I took, especially this year, but also in years 1 through 4, leading up to year 5 in business, leading up to 2025. Now, if you did listen to last week's episode, we talked about the commitment and the consistency. Once you've already made the decision to be committed and to stay committed and to keep going no matter what, that actually eliminates a lot of kind of emotional baggage, and especially when you remove the guilt of I'm not getting there fast enough, I should have already arrived, I'm failing, why isn't it working? All of that, which I experienced so much of at the beginning of my business. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. All of that is a massive energy leak. It's emotionally exhausting and draining to be in that energy around your business. And when you're in that place, it takes a lot of your time and your effort in order to keep going, in order to stay committed, in order to build that momentum over time. versus when you have already committed and when you're able to get out of this mindset of not enoughness and why isn't it working, and you just see that every step you're taking is part of the journey, part of your success. What that does is it frees up capacity. It frees up time and energy and money to be spent elsewhere and to be spent on things that are really going to move the needle forward. And making sure, what I did for this past year was making sure, especially with my time, that I was spending my time very intentionally in alignment with my goals for 2025. Because I was working towards this revenue goal all year. And so I had to make sure that I was aligning all of my time, all of my energy, all of my money with achieving that goal, because that's how we bring our visions to life. It is very simple math. It is universal math. If the energy that you're putting in is amplified by the action that you take, and then you get results. And so when you align your time, your energy, and your money with the life you want to be living, with the type of business you want to be building, you bring that life into reality and you bring that business to life. And so I luckily have already spent so much of this effort on money for the past several years. I've really mastered the art of being intentional with my money, being in control of my money. And because I already have that done and like locked in, I have been spending more time on the past couple of years with my time and energy. So something that I have been doing for over a year now, actually I think I started maybe in 2023, was tracking my time in my business. I actually keep track of where do I spend my time? What am I working on? What am I doing? How does this tie into the different areas of business, right? Am I working on marketing or sales, or am I being the CEO? Like, what hat am I wearing? And I track that. And then what I did this year in 2025 was I evaluated at the end of each month my time tracking data. And I said, okay, for the whole month, where did I actually spend my time? How many hours did I work in my business? What activities was I spending that time on? And how does this line up with where revenue is actually generated in my business? Am I spending my time in alignment with what are like the successful revenue generating activities, or am I spending my time on unimportant things that don't really matter? And this is the same for our money as well, too, right? Am I spending my money in alignment with the kind of life I want to be living, or am I spending my money and leaking money in other places that don't matter and that are less important to actually creating and living the life that I want to live and to what is truly most important to me? And you can do this with energy as well, too. But this was a huge part of my 2025 success, was taking my business so seriously that I was able to sit back and look at information and look at data and actually say, like, okay, how can I align my time and my money and my energy more with success? And how can I look at this information and learn something from it? And also I can look at, when I do spend my time in this way, when I do spend my energy in this way, when I do spend my money in this way, what are the results? What's the life that I'm living right now as a result of these actions that I'm taking? And is this in the direction that I want to be going or not? And you can adjust accordingly. Like, you have so much control over your life when you bring awareness to how you're spending your time, your energy, your money, and by being intentional with that, by aligning that with the life you want to live and being strategic with how you spend these precious resources. The other thing that this does when you have this relationship with your resources, with your actions, is for me, it cultivated a sense of legit business owner energy, which is the feeling of being a legit business owner. And I talk about this in Empowered Abundance, and I have talked about it in some of my free trainings, like the 8 ways your relationship with money affects your business. And legit business owner energy makes a huge impact on your business's success, because when you're treating yourself seriously, you're treating your business seriously, other people treat you seriously. It creates a grounded feeling. It creates a sense of trust. And that makes selling so much easier when you are confident in you, your business, your work. Like, it really changes the energy. Versus in the early years of my business, when I was floundering around, and honestly, I was just trying a bunch of different things. I didn't know what was working, how it was going, and I thought, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't have legit business owner energy. I was busy being frustrated and stressed out and wondering why it wasn't working, and just trying everything that I possibly could to make it work. It was a little more frantic. It was a little more scattered. It was a little more like, is this really going to work out? I'm not sure. And being in that unknown and leaking effort and energy there, and people can feel that as well too. It makes building momentum hard, and it makes taking advantage of the people that do come your way, the opportunities that do come your way. It makes it hard to sell yourself when you're not in legit business owner energy. And so as I started to take my resources, my time, my energy, my money even more seriously in my business, it created a deeper sense of legit business owner energy, a deeper sense of taking my business seriously. Now, I've always done it with my money, so that one comes a little bit more easy to me. I know that one doesn't come easy to everybody, so this applies for all three, but I've been spending more of my time focused on time because I already mastered money, and I feel like that's kind of the hardest one. But again, this applies to all three. Like, you can get this level of awareness and intention with all three: time, energy, and money. So for me, as I was tracking my time, I was really treating my business like a business. I was taking out the emotional, like, it means something about me if it's not working. And instead I got into logic town, and I said, yeah, okay, what can I learn from this information? How can I detach myself from making it mean anything about me and just figure out what to shift, what to change, how to do better? If I'm out of the stress of whether or not it's going to work, and I know that it's going to work no matter what, and I'm committed to it working no matter what, and I have my safety needs met, then it's safe for me to just sit back and chill a little and trust that everything's going to be okay. And instead of being in this frantic all over the place energy, grounding down into everything's okay, and how am I going to treat this like a legit business owner? I'm going to make small tweaks at a slower pace, and I'm going to be more methodical. And also, I'm going to stay committed to one thing. Just like I talked about in the last episode, this past year, I did 4 launches. That was my plan for the year. I started the year, knew exactly when my launches were going to be and when enrollment for each program was going to open, and I committed to that decision. Because I committed to that, what I got to do was just implement it and learn from it. And even though I failed every single time, I didn't hit the enrollment goals that I wanted, I got to learn strategically from each one and make tweaks and make adjustments and bring more awareness to what I was saying, how I was saying it, the energy that I was exuding in my business. And so you can only step into this level of intentional strategic action when you're in a grounded and abundant place. But really, that's just it. That's the secret. That's all you need to do in order to create the business that you want to create and manifest the life you want to live, is align your time, your energy, and your money in your life and in your business with that reality. And this is different than trying to figure out what works. It's more about sticking with something and staying committed to it, and then assessing, looking back, evaluating, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working, adjusting here and there, and moving forward. It's more about refining as opposed to starting from scratch, erasing everything and going from there. And this is something that I experienced personally in my business. When I look back in the first year of my business, there was a lot of hopping around and trying different things. So I was working on like Notion spreadsheet platforms and tried to sell that. I had another program called Start with Center that I tried to launch and sell. I had a freebie, and then I created a different freebie, and then a different like workshop, and I was just trying a bunch of different things, and I would get really excited about an idea, and it would feel like, yes, this is it, I got this, and I would implement it all the way through, and then I wouldn't get any sales, and I'd fail, and then I would completely switch gears and try to do something else, and came up with another idea or like another program and offer, and would go all in on that and try everything that I could and thought it was going to work, and I get really excited, and then I would get like 0 results and 0 sales. And so it was just hopping from thing to thing because none of those things were working, and I was trying to find the thing that would work. But then I discovered, okay, actually everything can work. Everything can be successful for somebody if you just learn how to do it. So speaking of your business, for some people, Instagram is awesome and they can like post on Instagram and make money on Instagram. For other people, doing webinars. For other people, it's like meeting people in person and having connections. For other people, it's podcasts or YouTube. Like there's so many marketing avenues that can work and that can be successful, but it's just a matter of learning how to actually do those things, how to actually implement, and how to do it in a way that does lead to the success that you desire. But when you are constantly task switching and trying different things in order to make it work, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to actually learn from all of those things, to actually see, oh, why didn't this work? It's not that it didn't work, it's that there's something I could do differently to make it work. And how can I learn from every single failure, every single challenge, every single obstacle to keep going? And that is something I have experienced massively this year, is before everything was all over the place. My marketing modalities were all over the place. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what would work. And my time was kind of all over the place. My energy was all over the place. I had some days where I worked in my business, others when I didn't. I spent my time doing random things here and there. I didn't know what I should be focusing on. And over the past 5 years in my business, I've gotten more and more methodical. I've honed in on what is actually working and what are the tasks that I'm going to be committed to, the things that do work to generate revenue in my business. How can I focus only on doing those things and not leaking or wasting time or energy or money on other things, and just focus in on these things and getting really, really good at them. And so this started for me in 2024 when I created a whole marketing schedule and routine for myself. And I had tried to do this before, but I didn't fully commit to it and follow through in the past. And I set it up again in 2024, and I said, okay, I'm going to like market on Mondays. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write an email. It's going to look like this. And I put the time on my calendar. And I learned how to have this consistent, dedicated time focused on important tasks, aligned tasks for my business's growth and success based on what I knew was working. And then I committed to that and followed through on that. And then this bled into 2025, maintaining those routines, maintaining that consistency. And then because I had that, 2 things were able to happen. One is I was able to build on to that, and I was able to add more things. And also it allowed me to feel more confident and solid and grounded in my business. It created that legit business owner energy, right? And then it also allowed me to see where I could improve and to learn and to keep going. And then all of this bled into my decision at the beginning of 2025 to do 4 launches for this year. Now, launches can be emotionally really challenging, and I dealt with a lot of failure and hopelessness and highs and lows and, why isn't it working? I still experienced all of those things, but this was a year of not letting that stop me and continuing to hone in my energy, hone in my mindset, and refocus on the goal, refocus on what's working and being able to keep going. And so one is I developed deep emotional resilience by continuing to keep going, but also I was able to learn from every launch. And I was able to look back. And actually evaluate and assess every launch and say, oh, okay, what would I tweak? What would I shift? What would I do differently? And it wasn't start from scratch, erase everything and do something completely different. It was how can I methodically, strategically, intentionally align even more with the goal that I want to achieve? How can I treat myself and treat my business as if I am the CEO of a high company who's emotionally detached and solid and make adjustments and tweaks over time? So in order to step into this level of intentional action, you also need to take full radical responsibility. And really, it's about owning your power and owning the control that you have. Instead of looking outside of you and trying to find something outside of you to make it work, to the how that you need to do differently in order to be successful. It's the world's fault that it's not working, or this is just the way it is, right? Anytime there's something outside of you, you are surrendering your power and your control over your life and over your situation. And so you need to claim responsibility and say, I am the one in control of my life. I get to be the one in control of my time, my energy, and my money, and I am able to wield these powers strategically and intentionally to bring my vision to life. And the more and more skilled you get at this, the more practiced you get at this, at wielding these powers, then the easier it becomes to make small adjustments over time and have those lead to massive shifts. It's easier to actually see clearly what's working, what is in alignment, and how to adjust more and more in that direction until inevitably all of your time, all of your energy, and all of your money is in alignment with the life you want to live, and therefore you create that result. You look around at your reality and you see, I am living my vision because I aligned every single action that I have taken with my vision. And so this is the second thing that I can contribute my 2025 success to, is the fact that I was more willing than ever to bring intentional strategic action into my business, especially when that meant data and numbers and slowing down and reflecting and using that information to make decisions and choices and actually learning from that information. Because honestly, I'm such a forward-thinking person that it's been very hard for me to look back, especially when I don't get the results that I want, especially when I feel like I've failed. It's extra hard to look back. It's cringy to be like, why didn't it work? And especially when you do start to take it personally and think what's wrong with me? It can be very emotionally challenging at first, and I have had a lot of resistance to tracking my time and evaluating in my business and adjusting accordingly and making small tweaks when really it's a default to just keep going and doing and hustle and do more. when really taking that time to slow down and bring awareness to what is currently here now and what can be shifted to align more with where I want to go, those slower choices and decisions, they lead to much faster and much more rapid results. And so I had to spend 2025 overcoming a lot of resistance to evaluation and looking back. And every single month I said, okay, I'm going to look at my time data because I committed to doing this and this is important to me. And instead of getting in like drama about that and putting it off, I just let it be a decision that I committed to. I said, I'm committed to this. I'm going to take this action. I'm going to do it. It was the same with my marketing as well. When I created a whole marketing routine in 2024, I said, you know what? I'm going to commit to this. It's just a decision and I'm going to do it. And instead of getting caught up in like, oh, I don't have time or I don't want to today, I just committed to it. And really it just comes back to making decisions and then following through and no longer leaking energy on giving up. And this allowed me to create this podcast in 2025 was because I just decided to create this podcast and I implemented it and then I just kept going. There's never been any drama about whether I should give up on this podcast or not or quit or stop. And it just built right into my marketing routine. And now it's just part of my strategy. And it's because I have built this skill set of wielding my time, my energy, my money, and I've gotten over the discomfort of looking back and getting comfortable with strategy, as opposed to avoiding strategy and staying in the hustle and staying in the go mode, embracing the lessons that we can learn from taking our time, from looking back, from doing things slow and steady, from making small tweaks and adjustments to align more and more with where we want to go, the life we want to live, and the business that we want to create. And again, this can be true for every area of life. If you want to create something, all you have to do is align how you spend your time, your energy, and your money with that thing. And this is exactly what I teach you how to do in Empowered Abundance, starting with your money, because your money is one of the most powerful tools of your creation. For creation. Anytime you spend your money, you are saying yes to something. You're affirming something. You're making a decision and a commitment in your life. And when you spend that money, you're therefore manifesting and bringing something into reality as a result of that financial decision. And so when you first bring awareness to your money, where you're currently spending it, what you're currently doing with it, you're bringing awareness to how you are creating this life that you are living right now. And this is true for your business as well, too. Like this, your money is a reflection of the business you are creating right now. And then once we can see clearly what's happening now, how you're spending your money now and the results you're creating in your life, then you can adjust it. You can shift it. And then it puts all of the control and the power of your life back in your hands. Now you can do something with that money. You can use that money to live more and more the life you want to live. Okay, this is what we do in Empowered Abundance. And then once you've learned this skill for your money, trust me, that's usually the most challenging one for a lot of people because we have a lot of shame and guilt and fear and survival and self-worth. Like all of that ties into your money. That's okay. Once you do this for your money, once you know how to intentionally wield the power of your money with intentional strategic action, doing it for time and energy is easy. It just is you owning the power and the control over your life. And that skill translates into all areas of life. And it allows you to feel more grounded, more safe, more in control. Like you are the creator of your reality. And all of this translates into being the creator of your business, being the creator of your vision, and just being able to wield these powers to bring that to life. So if you want to become this level of powerful, if you want to be somebody who can take intentional, aligned, strategic action with your time, your energy, and especially your money, so you can start living the life you want to live and actively, consciously bringing that life into reality, then Empowered Abundance is literally the best program to help you do that. Because you'll learn how to see your money clearly. You'll learn exactly how you're creating what you're creating, and you'll learn how to harness that power so you can transition full-time into your business, so you can build the life that you want to live. And right now, enrollment for the next round of Empowered Abundance opens next Monday, January 12th, where you'll get the chance to book a free consultation to see exactly how Empowered Abundance can support you in bringing your most abundant life into reality. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Consultations will open next Monday. Okay, so this is what I have for you today. The second biggest factor that contributed to my 2025 success is being able to take intentional, strategic action from a consistent, grounded place, from the energy of legit business owner, from the energy of I am the creator of my reality and I have the power to wield my resources and therefore bring my vision into reality. And this is exactly what I did in my business, which has led me to my first six-figure year. Okay, that's what I have for you today. Come back next week for part 3 of my 2025 review. Have a great rest of your Money Monday, and I will see you next week.